This is the Charlton Fans Show.
You are listening to the Charlton Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio, very gladly so, because they couldn't even get in. They were so eager to do this show tonight, the SE7 podcast. They locked themselves out. They were climbing the walls. Windows were getting tacked. I thought Spider-Man was going to come and help out, but they have made it. Joining me in the studio is the SE7 podcast, Paul Sullivan, Martin Adkins, and Ollie Cook. And I say a very smartly dressed Ollie Cook. He is dapper tonight. He looks the part. He looks the part, yeah.
Oh, guys.
Only the best for this show. And what a show we have coming up, because you may think it's the international break. The second international break is upon us. Well, we'll still be reviewing that game with Fulham on the weekend. A terrific point, and it could have easily have been free. All about the international call-ups, Bowyer, that FA charge, and more importantly, we will have the legend, Paul Mortimer, joining us this evening, Charlton legend. He'll be joining us in around 15 minutes, so you won't want to miss that. But as always, you can get involved with the show tonight and ask the SE7 podcast a question. Tweet us at Love Sport Radio or call us on 0208 70 20 558. We have to take a look at those last three fixtures. Leeds, Swansea, Fulham. Now, no easy game in the Championship. All games are tough, but with a run like that, those three games, extremely tough. But you beat Leeds. Could have easily got a result against Swansea, but all right, it didn't go that way. Fulham on the weekend, them coming back twice to deny you the victory. Charlton going up twice. It was oh so close, Paul. What were your thoughts on the game? And just very quickly, because I know obviously everyone listens every week, I think I predicted 2-2, didn't I?
You did. I thought it was 3-3.
You said 3-3.
I've listened to it. I'm going to get that audio. I said 2-2, possibly 3-3.
Get that audio, Josh.
Yeah, Josh, get it, because I've listened to it. I know I'm right, Paul.
But to be fair, Charlie, I think you started doing the predictions the other week on the, is it the Premiership show you do on Friday? And you got those horribly wrong on the first week, didn't you?
Yeah, it's safe to say I got 3 out of 10 right.
You were giving it large, I seem to remember. But anyway.
I was. And that's why out of this week, I got a lot of stick on the Palace show, but we don't talk about them because I've not got one right, but I thought I got the Charlton one, so that's what matters.
Anyway, there's the fact is I'm worse than a lot of you, but I'm so pleased that I get it wrong on a regular basis, because obviously I've predicted so many defeats this season, but I'm really pleased to be wrong. And you know I've got a family at home full of girls, so I'm always wrong, with my wife and two daughters.
I like that, Paul.
But no, what a fantastic afternoon. Really enjoyed it. And the way we went about our work was absolutely tremendous. We really took care of Fulham, particularly in that first half. We really pressed in a very aggressive style. We tactically, Lee Bowyer tactically got it just spot on and made Scott Parker change his plans. I think we were discussing out there that that's the first time he's had to change his system, and he brought 2 subs on at half time, because I don't think he expected that from Charlton. I think what surprised him was not only we were containing them, but when we had the ball, we showed a lot of quality on the ball, and we were a real threat going forward, not before that goal as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, Ollie.
That's all right.
Johnny Williams was fantastic on the day. For me, man of the match was Josh Cullen. I know Dylan got it for his saves at the end.
Yeah.
Maybe rightly so in a way, but for me, I thought Josh Cullen was absolutely fantastic. He marshalled Tom Kearney in that first half. Didn't really realise he was playing along with Darren Pratley, and then as Paul said, we made Fulham change their tactics, and they came out in the second half and gave us a right going over, but we stood firm, and, I think the draw a fair result in the end.
And someone like Josh Cullen, we sort of expect those performances from him, but there were some people on the pitch who weren't expecting those good performances from someone like Jake Forster-Caskey. We've only seen like 20 minutes of him all season, and he just comes on, plays not his usual position at left wing back, and played a fantastic game. He did a job down there, whipped in a really good ball for the first goal, which went to another guy, Chris Solly, who actually had a great game as well. We had a few surprising performances there from our boys, which is really great to see.
2 things we obviously have to mention. One, it was a Fulham fan show last night, and the only thing they wanted to really talk about was was how good Phillips were, and it was all down to him. A lot of the credit went to the Charlton goalkeeper, not the performance or Bowyer's tactics. Of course, you lot wouldn't expect any less. And secondly, we mentioned my prediction last week, but we also had Mr. Macaulay Bonne on. He scored against Leeds and scored against Fulham.
He had a good game as well.
Maybe we'll try to get him on next week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully.
What a header that was, though, wasn't it, Mark?
Great header. It was a great little dink in, and just lost his man. And he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean, it was a great header. And he deserved that goal in his first half performance alone. I thought he was brilliant in the first half.
Yeah, but he said no fear, didn't he, Paul? But headers like that, technically very difficult. That weren't just a simple header, was it?
Well, I thought he was very clever because he used the pace off the ball that Pratley sent over and used that very cleverly just to guide it in. And I suppose as a header of the ball, you don't really need too much contact. It's all about the technical side, how you connect that, and then the ball will do the rest. So it's and it was great to see a nice clean goal from Macaulay, obviously, because it was obviously a little bit messy, that first one, but we didn't want to go into too much detail on that. But it was a goal of quality, the way he took that header. And
I mean, the Fulham boys are right, to go on about Phillips because he made the saves. He did make 2 or 3 really good saves in that second half, but that's what he's there for. You know what I mean? And
completely right.
Absolutely. So they're right to say that, but on the other hand, I think midfield-wise, I think we dominated in the first half. Pratley again, unsung hero again.
We've said that before.
We have. Josh Cullen, fantastic, and then Conor Gallagher. I mean, that boy's just
Let's talk about him. I mean, I said it earlier, and I don't not hate to mention it, but he's on loan from Chelsea. He reminds me so much of Lampard. He's this box-to-box player, and he has a knack of arriving in the box at the right time. Got the goal in. Now he's been called up to England under 21s. Obviously, I've watched the most Charlton probably I've ever watched this season. I have to say, I've got a friend of mine who's Chelsea. Said you've got to get on this Conor Gallagher. He's really a player for them. Just wonderful to see him get that recognition as well, wasn't it, Mime?
It was. I mean, he fully deserves it as well. I mean, if there's a better goal-scoring midfielder in the Championship, I don't know who it is, And I made a big, bold statement outside with the lads. I did. I said I could see him being in the England World Cup squad in 2022.
Really?
He'll go back. I think he's going to go back to Chelsea next season. He's going to get in their first team squad because if Lampard's still there, he's playing the youngsters. Honestly, I see that boy getting in the England squad. I can.
Yeah, well, they're playing Matt and Abraham. Let's talk about it then. That result when Conor did score, when Macaulay did score, Ollie, did you think we're going to win this? 3 points here.
Both times, yeah. And yeah, but especially first half when we came out, we were playing better than them. We were playing better than Fulham in that first half, definitely. Dom said, if we come at them, that's when they're going to play their best. But we came at them and they couldn't handle it. We outthought them. The positioning for players, the way we came at them and the way we shaped up was absolutely spot on. And they couldn't handle us. They had to change things around second half, and they got through because they have some quality in their team. They have that Cavallero who scored an unbelievable goal against us, and Mitrovic, who's just an absolute unit up front. Like you're not going to muscle him off the ball, are you? So he managed to poke the ball home, which when we look back was offside, but I'm not saying anything, and I just did. And but I really do. I know we mentioned it briefly, and I know the Fulham fans mentioned it quite a lot, but I do think that we should give Dylan Phillips some credit for those saves because especially the one in the 95th minute. That header from about 5 yards out.
Well, I have to give some guy on Twitter a bit of credit for Dylan Phillips' performance. I can't remember his name, but before the match he said, "Oh my God, Dylan Phillips is playing. We're going to lose." There you go, mate. I'll find his name in a minute and bring it up.
Well, it's a good point that you mention that because we spoke about Phillips' performance sometimes. There have been the errors, but when he has a game like this, we have to give him the praise as well. We have to be fair both ways. Paul, it was a brilliant performance, but I want to talk a little bit about, we hear about Fulham's squad so strong, Leeds, Swansea, coming back down from the Premier League, and Charlton maybe this season have gone under the radar a little bit in terms of them competing at the top end of the Championship. But when you have got a manager who will perfect a game plan like this, the tactics. This is the difference in so many games, especially when it comes down to the wire in the Championship. It's crucial. How good is it, these game management and tactical? Because at the minute, it seems to be executed to a T, Paul.
Yeah, I think Lee obviously puts a hell of a lot of work in. He really studies the opposition. And I think he sussed out that these top teams like Leeds, Swansea and Fulham particularly don't like facing 3 at the back.
No.
So we matched Fulham on Saturday 3 against 3, and the wing backs that we had in operation in the form of Forster, Kakassi and Solly were working a treat. And Fulham were really sort of a little bit perplexed on how to deal with us and our offensive work.
And we give Bowie all the credit and rightly so, but we've got to give the players a good big pat on the back because they're buying into Bowyer's philosophy.
Well, they're executing the game plan.
They're executing. They believe in what Bowyer's telling them, and then within the first 10-15 minutes, they could see they were getting on top, and you could see the confidence growing in the players. And as we said, Forster Kasky's first proper game of the season, he's bombing up and down like a season like wing back.
And just some basic stuff like encouraging that midfield unit because it's got so much energy and industry. Bowyer, when he was a midfield player, just get in the box when you can and you can score goals. So don't be scared. As Macaulay said last week, have no fear because these teams can be taken.
Well, they certainly did on the weekend because they did come flying out the traps and they got that result. And I watched the game and I said to my mate, I'm really invested in Charlton this season. The game's on TV, we're going to watch. And he said, how are they getting on? I mentioned about Conor Gallagher, he's a Chelsea fan, but we can forgive that. I can't, but I'll pretend we will. And we're talking about the game and he said, Charlton are 5-1, 7-1. I said, it's absolute nonsense. I said, it's just people aren't paying attention to him and it's annoying, but it is what it is. They don't mind flying under the radar. They'll go about their business. They're happy to do so. But there is a small point where I think, when are Charlton going to get that recognition? And no disrespect, just before I've done the fan shows tonight, Andy Hodgson, he was on Drive, Love Sport Drive, which you can listen to. He said, Charlton are a little bit forgotten about. How are they doing? I just thought, how are they doing? They're doing very well this year, but no one seems to want to talk to it. Why is that, Paul? And is that getting frustrating for the fans?
Yeah, but Andy, who you mentioned there, he's a Burnley fan, isn't he? He should be able to relate to what the situation we're in, because Burnley have gone up to the Premiership, and he spoke earlier on his show about he only expected relegations in all the years he's been supporting Burnley. So, teams like Burnley and Charlton in the Premiership, you've got Leicester and Wolves who are really riding the crest of a wave now. There's room for us boys, to come up and challenge the big boys.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to recognition, we never really got that in the Premier League. When if we pull out a result against Chelsea or something like that, people go, did you see the Charlton result? But no one really tracked Charlton to see how they're doing. Even last year when we were doing really well, no one paid attention until the playoff final. And I don't mind that too much because no one's going to notice until we go up, basically. Yeah. And what that means is teams aren't going to come out and challenge us in the same way, and they're going to get surprised by us each week. And that's working in our favour so far because no one expects us to come out and play them, and when we do very well.
Well, Fulham aren't lifting up trees in the Championship here. I think Charlton, the season they've had and then just beating Leeds, I don't think they should be 7-1 against any team they play in this division.
I think the time's come. Give it another couple of games. If we get a couple of results in the next couple of games, we're going to lose that surprise element of our team, I think.
But to be fair, we did lull people into a false sense of security after those 2 defeats against Birmingham and Wigan. We here on the fan show were a little bit worried going into these 3 games.
Ollie was still predicting 9 points, and not Ollie.
Well, Ollie, and
we're going to win them all.
Yeah, exactly. The doomsday people like myself. But he's just pulled the rabbits out of the bag again, and it's absolutely fantastic. I just love supporting this team.
As you should. Well, it is absolutely fantastic. There is no game for us to preview this week, but we will be looking at that second international break and where Charlton are currently in the table and how their season is shaping up. And don't forget, Paul Mortimer will be joining us at 9:30 this evening.
Giving your team the coverage they deserve. Love Sport Radio. Digital radio offers great sound quality and more stations than ever before. And we want to make sure that you get Love Sport on your digital radio. Just press the auto tune or auto scan button and Love Sport will appear on your menu. Love Sport on digital radio.
My mum and dad say that I don't need lots of sugar. I'm sweet enough already. So we used the Change for Life food scanner app to find out how much sugar is in our food and drink. It's surprising how much we found. So I put my detective hat on to find the healthier choices. Woohoo! Found one, Mum! You can be food smart too. Download the free Change for Life food scanner app today.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it,
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
If you're in business, I bet you hate wasting money. We Do Taxi Tops can help you achieve minimum wastage on your advertising costs and maximum exposure. Our revolutionary taxi tops can target your potential customers in the right place at the right time, so your message has the greatest potential for making an impact. We Do Taxi Tops. Visit wedooh.com. We Do. The smarter, quicker way of advertising in London, supporting London businesses of all sizes.
If you're driving on a motorway and you see a red X sign overhead, you need to change lanes safely. Driving in a red X lane is an offence. Red X's are there for a reason, to protect you and others from danger. The lane may be blocked by a broken down vehicle or road workers, or the lane may be needed for the emergency services. So if you see a red X, change lanes safely. Highways England, connecting the country.
Love sport.
You are listening to the Charlton Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins, and I'm joined in the studio with the SE7 podcast, Paul Sullivan, Martin Adkins and Ollie Cook. And there is still time for you to get involved. Tweet us at Love Sport Radio or call us on 0208 70 20 558. You can ask the SE7 team a question or Paul Mortimer a question because he is joining us in 10 minutes. You will not want to miss that. That is a Charlton legend joining us right here in the studio. We can't wait to ask him how Charlton's season is going. Well, it is the second international break. 4 points away from first place. You're playing them very soon when the international break is back, but you've got to be pleased with that after 11 games. How do we feel that the season is shaping up so far? Paul, I'll start with you.
Yeah, fantastic. And the way, in a way, to gauge it is to see how far we come. Just look at some of the teams that are below us, picking out two of the relegated sides from the Premier League, Huddersfield and Cardiff. There's some household names down there like Derby County and Middlesbrough.
Stoke at bottom.
Stoke, yeah, absolutely. So to be 10th with 18 points from 11 games is well, none other than a fantastic achievement. I mean, we've only lost once away from home, the 5 away games.
Positive goal difference.
Absolutely. So there's just so much to be pleased about. Obviously, we've taken this momentum in, but let's not forget that we lost a lot of players. That starting lineup against Fulham, only 4 of the 11 who started against Fulham started in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, you know, Lee and the team have managed to keep this sort of winning mentality and this great spirit going.
Yeah, and I know you should never look downwards or look at the bottom end of the table, but you're 10 points off the relegation and 4 points off the top, so that's always a better stat, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, this division's a joke, though, isn't it? I mean, I said it even for the past 3 or 4 seasons, you know what I mean? You could go on a run of 4 wins and obviously, Bosh, you'd be third from bottom and then be like in the playoffs, you know, and then just looking at the table, I mean, West Brom are top. When we're going to be playing, aren't we? We're playing Preston, West Brom and Bristol City in the next few weeks, aren't we?
Yeah,
so it's going to be a tough few weeks.
Yeah, but like you say, like it's you can't predict anything. No. You never know. That doesn't mean anything at this point of the season. So let's not look at them and think, oh, they're going to be tough games, because every game's a tough game. So as long as we approach it the way we've approached
we
the last
almost done a show, done it, didn't we? In September, we looked at the 3 games before the Fulham, Swansea, and Leeds, and went, oh, you know, Wigan, Birmingham, we'll get 9 from there. And then the next 3, they're going to be tough.
Now you understand why the players and managers come out with, we'll take one game at a time, because it's right though. It's bang on.
And also, big plus for me, obviously, on Saturday to go to a place like Craven Cottage. I mean, we did it without the great Lyle Taylor. I mean, that's another thing to consider. Yeah. And as you said earlier, Martin, I thought it was a great performance by Macaulay Bonne. I mean, he worked so hard on and off the ball. So well done to him. He's improving. He wasn't intimidated by the likes. I mean, they got Alfie Mawson at the back there and Tim Ream. So Premier
League defenders.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's come on leaps and bounds in a very short period of time.
And what's special about it, you always want big performances from players that are stepping in, but when you feel like you're missing Lyle Taylor, you know, we need a big performance here because we're losing such a big one here, and that's exactly what Macaulay has done. You know, big shoes to fill. I'm not saying he's completely done it, but is he stepping up to the challenge? Yes.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see him in the next home game actually, because he'll go into that with so much confidence, because he's now got, as Paul said, he's got a proper goal, under his belt,
and a great one,
and a very good one, great one, yeah. And so he can only get better. He can only get better, and he knows that as well.
Well, as always, it's tradition on this show, calling into the studio Ahmed. Ahmed, you want to talk about the games? How are you, and what did you make of the result on the weekend?
Absolutely fantastic. I call it the brilliant, brave, battling performance.
Alliteration genius.
It was absolutely fantastic. We deserved to win that game. Their goal was offside, and the officials let us down, unfortunately. But that's Charlton, isn't it? How often have we seen that happen?
I think I've seen it before when, against Fulham, like the goal, the referee giving like a throw in or something. I remember this really clearly. He gave a throw in which wasn't a throw in, and then from that they scored. It's just classic that we're going to get some bad decisions.
You reminded me of the Fulham Premiership game.
Yeah,
I was there at that one. You're correct. Yeah, right at the end. Yeah, but the difference is then and now is the referee, who was quite well known, went in and actually apologised to Kirbishley afterwards. I didn't see the other guy. All that's happened basically is Bowyer's been under regulations because he must have said a few words to that referee as he left the pitch.
Not Lee.
And he got himself into trouble, basically. And also, lads, not to take the icing cake, I actually predicted 2-2, if you remember, last week.
Well, Ahmed, I think I did.
Well, apparently everyone says that now.
Yeah. Ahmed, the fact is, I'm telling the truth and you laugh, so I'm a bit upset about that.
Well, I'm not a betting man, otherwise I might have had a few quid in my pocket by now.
We can share the spoils.
Ahmed, all joking aside, what did you think of Macaulay Bond's performance on Saturday?
Excellent. He had an excellent. I mean, he scored a really good goal as well to cap it off. Yeah, he made some good runs. He was in the channel. Yeah, he was the main target man. And we found him, and he held the ball up quite well. He's coming along leaps and bounds. Because let's be fair, if Niall Taylor wasn't injured, he probably wouldn't be playing in the first team.
No.
He'd probably be on the bench, basically.
He's going to give Bowyer a selection dilemma when Taylor's eventually fit.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, but that's what most managers want, don't they? They want to have
absolutely, of course they do, yeah.
Make. And they want to make sure, because it keeps everybody on their toes, doesn't it? There's competition for places.
Couple of things, Ahmed. I mean, on the point of Bond, I'm particularly looking forward to trying out having Bond playing up front with Taylor. Yeah. I think that could be interesting.
I think that as well. I think he could make runs off of Taylor,
exactly.
And Taylor can set him up in ways that he's probably not getting serviced at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And also, a lovely surprising element of Saturday's game was the stroke of genius that Lee Bowyer played by bringing in Jake Forster-Caskey as that left wing back. I thought that was very good.
No one saw that one coming, did they?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and what a fantastic layoff it was to set up over to Solly and then Soles down to Conor Gallagher, and what a fantastic goal that was.
The whole goal was lovely, and I do love a half volley. You can't beat a half volley,
when you get them right,
yeah. Just that lovely connection. It was beautiful, and as you say,
it's like with free kicks as well. You know, the moment you've hit it right, you know it's going in the back of the net, basically.
Absolutely, he guided it
beautifully. Unless the keeper does something absolutely miraculous.
And a lovely cushioned header by Solly in the layoff.
Yeah,
on another thing, Ahmed, if I remember rightly, a couple of weeks ago, you were brought in the fact that maybe Ben Amos should come in for Dylan Phillips. Are you going to go back on that now? Or?
I will go back on that.
Okay.
He's a fantastic stop shotter, but he needs to work on his distribution.
Absolutely, yeah. He's still young.
Him and Amos and the goal, Andy Marshall, that's what they should be working on all the time.
I'm like an elephant. I never forget these type of things, Ahmed. I will bring them up.
That's fine. Listen, I'm always open to put my hand up if I get things wrong.
Good man. Ahmed, he's completely lying
there. About opinions, mate. Yeah. We've all got opinions.
He has. He forgot my 2-2 prediction, so he says Ahmed, Charlton are in the second international break now. Looking at their fixtures, Derby next, then Bristol City, West Brom, then Preston. What are you making of that next run? What can they work on in this international break?
Well, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to be. Is Niall Taylor going to be out for all those games potentially, or?
I think so.
Yeah. Probably.
I mean, his biggest problem is going to be is, like you say, who's he going to play up front, and what formation is he? I mean, Bowyer likes to play with two strikers, and I think the 3-5-2 formation that he's got when he goes through at the back seems to be working.
Mm.
You know, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Is my view on that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean. Obviously, Bond was sort of isolated a little bit on Saturday, but it still managed to, work a treat. It's difficult, isn't it, Ahmed? You know, we've got Chuck Saniki there. I'm not so sure about Hemid. I don't know what's happening with these two boys we got from Brighton. We'll just have to wait and see how that develops.
Exactly. I mean, the reason I'm saying that is if someone can play off, well, obviously when Lyle Taylor's fit, someone who can play off Lyle Taylor, but also players like Conor Gallagher, he's got to get forward, get those runs into the box-to-box that he does. You know, people have got to get into the box from midfield. Otherwise, we won't have enough numbers in the box to get the goals when the crosses and the pullbacks happen when we get in behind.
Yeah, completely. Ahmed, thank you so much for calling into Stu. It's always the tradition. It is a treat to hear from you once more. Let's quickly talk about Lyle Taylor's injury then. What is the latest? Have we had an update recently, Mark?
Well, I did see he did post something on his Instagram the other day. He was on the treadmill running with his knee brace on. So that's a good sign. He's obviously ready. I wouldn't have thought get this international break out of the way and he'll probably be back out running on the grass with the lads. So we'll see.
And he did manage to negotiate the TV gantry on Saturday. So he managed to hoist himself up there.
Bowyer was fuming.
Lee Bowyer gave him a real filthy look, I think. It's just saying, what are you doing up there?
Yeah.
In his brace.
Let's hope we'll hopefully might be able to get Lyle on the show next week and we'll ask him ourselves, won't we?
Yeah, we will. That would be a very exciting one, an exclusive for you. We might have Lyle Taylor on the show next week. We're positive about that. Maybe Macaulay will say, look, it was a fantastic time. Get on. He has been on before, but hopefully he will come on again. Next, though, from one Charlton player to a former Charlton player, it is the legend Paul Mortimer will be joining us here in the studio.
This is Love Sport.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
Hello, I'm Tim from Bolsover. I'm a retired teacher. I was looking for a better electricity deal from my parents when I got an email from a spokesman said it was a fixed deal for 2 years, which was better for my parents, less for them to worry about. And when I had a look at the sums, I had to recheck because I couldn't quite believe it. They were going to save over £900 each year they were on that deal. Needless to say, we signed up pretty quickly.
With a spokesmansaid.com, fighting for you, saving you money.
Driving too close to the car in front gives you less time to react. You may not realise that you're tailgating. Leave a 2-second gap between you and the vehicle in front. When it's wet, leave a 4-second gap. By staying back, you give yourself time to react. Stay safe. Stay back. Highways England, connecting the country.
How are you? How are you really? Modern life can be busy, and sometimes it's easier to look after others before looking after yourself. But there's only one you. And making small changes to your lifestyle now could improve your chances of staying healthier longer. So take the first step to a healthier you with our free How Are You quiz. See how you score and get personalised tips and support. From how to eat a little healthier to turning a 10-minute walk into exercise. Just search One You.
Love Sport Breakfast with Richard Lee and Patrick Christys.
I think what Poch is picturing, and I can see this, is the classic scene where they win it, that everyone will be having an open bus tour, you know, an open bus parade, but there'll be Poch on a stallion. And we'll see the sunset, and he will literally ride off into the sunset. And he'll grow his hair back long, like he had it before.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll ride off. Adios.
Adios,
That'll
amigo.
And we'll never hear from him ever again. We won't even know where home is because we will never, ever hear from him ever again. He'll be this mystery figure that had those famous quotes, and we'll talk about him, the legend of Poch.
If Poch manages to win the Champions League with Spurs this year, he'll be on that horse. And what he means by home is just a different dimension. The horse will take off, ride into the sky, into the sun, and it'll just explode into fairy dust.
And he'll just transcend into a different realm, a spiritual realm.
Yeah.
And we'll speak about the character that once was Poch.
Weekdays from 6 a.m. Love Sport.
You are listening to the Charlton Fan Show on Love Sport Radio with me, Charlie Hawkins. I'm joined in the studio with the SE7 podcast. Paul Sullivan, Martin Atkins and Ollie Cook. We've been talking about that result on the weekend against Fulham. It was a point. It could have so easily have been 3. Fulham say credit to Charlton's keeper, but Charlton had the chances. They took the lead twice. But more importantly than that, we are now joined on the phone by an absolute Charlton legend. It is, of course, Mr. Paul Mortimer. Paul, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. Such a delight for us to have you on the phone. It's a pleasure to speak to you. And I know I've spoke to you already at Love Sport a few times. We've been speaking about Bowyer. We've been speaking about Charlton and Lyle Taylor. They are flying under the radar. But how impressed have you been of their season so far?
Evening, gentlemen.
Evening, Paul.
It's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't it? I mean, I had the opportunity to interview Lee Bowyer a week before the season started, and I said to him, do you have enough in the squad to just be competitive? And he was honest, Bo, and he said, no, I haven't. I don't have the players. We let go of 11. We brought in 6, 5 more we need. And he brought them in. He's got all the players in. And remember, the recent results, Swansea and Fulham, are without Lyle Taylor, who was good enough. You know, Charlton had to turn down, I think a few £1 million from Brentford. So to do it without Lyle Taylor is absolutely magnificent. It's a wonderful job that he's done so far. But, again, we get to 50 points. That's all I care about.
Yeah, Paul, evening. You mentioned there, we've had some really good results. We're playing really well. Bo's done a really good job. But as Charlie said, we have been flying under the radar a little bit. And what do you think it is about Charlton that means that we don't get the recognition, that we're not in all the papers, we're not people talking about it that much? Why do you think, even though we're doing a good job, we just don't get that sort of recognition?
First of all, I'm delighted with that, to be truthfully honest, because if that continues, we keep Lee Bowyer, we keep Lyle Taylor, we keep the good players. I'll take that all day long. And when we come up from the radar is the last week of the season, when we sneak into the playoffs or something like that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
For now, I think it's great. I mean, we're never going to get the credit because if you look at, our part of London, there are other teams who are, are more prominent. Crystal Palace and what have you are far more prominent than us for now. And I'll take that. Also, the turmoil that's been at the club. The last few years have not been great. Let's not kid ourselves. I think our chairman is probably second to Mike Ashley in terms of dislike, to be truthfully honest. And in and amongst all of that, the club has still managed to prosper on the pitch, and it's been with Lee Bowyer. It's been incredible the work that he's put in. When you consider at one stage he started the season without a contract, and yet still managed to get commitment from the players and get buy-in from the players to be able to produce the performances that they've been producing. So, long may it continue under the radar.
Paul, I mean, you was at the club when Bowyer made his debut as a player.
Yeah.
Would you ever envisage him becoming the manager of the club?
Absolutely not. As a kid, there's absolutely no way that you'd see Bo as a manager. It was like organised chaos with him. He was so controlled in certain ways, yet a kid in certain ways. I mean, he did silly things. I think one Friday we're training, he scored a goal from about 35, 40 yards out when everyone's having a pop at him. The next day, in the first team game, he did the exact same thing again. That's what he was like. A wonderful player. Didn't see management in him. Please, for Charlton's sake, that he has become a manager because he's doing a magnificent job.
Yeah, hi Paul. It's Paul here.
Hey.
Yes. Very fortunate to have a nice little chat with you the other week on your breakfast show on the Saturday with Richard Lee. And what you raised on that day, I think it was just after the Wigan and Birmingham defeats, and obviously we were out without Lyle Taylor, and you were actually saying that you had a fear for Charlton now, especially going into these tough games that we've had, Leeds, Swansea, Fulham, etc. And you sort of made the suggestion that Charlton might want to sit back. But how surprised were you, in particular on Saturday against Fulham, how we actually took the game to Fulham in many respects, especially in that first half, and probably surprised Scott Parker as well.
Yeah, we should have won. There's no disputing that. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that we should have won. Fulham got lucky on the day, and they'll say, our keeper played well. He's going to play well. We're at a club that spent £100 million last year on Premier League players. Their resources, Lee Bowyer spent Thrapp and Tapeney compared to Scott, not Scott Parker, but compared to Fulham. So yes, we are going to ride our luck, but you have to go ahead to be able to win a game, and we did it twice. So people will underestimate us. And that's what they're doing. And that just plays into Charlton's hands. Not a problem. They'll just carry on. And I say again, we've done all of this without Lyle Taylor. So just imagine how much stronger we'll be when Lyle Taylor comes back.
Paul, I hate to put pressure on young players, but do you see a little bit of Lee Bowyer in Conor Gallagher, the way he plays the game?
Yeah, I do. I don't really like making them comparisons.
No, me neither, but
I always say Bo was a one-off, but yes, I do. I like him, I like him.
Yeah.
He's got a bit of everything, hasn't
Yes.
he? And yeah, I think he's got him from Chelsea, hasn't he?
Yeah, he
so
has.
The recruitment is hugely important at Charlton because we don't have money to spend. So he's got to get them right. And he's pulled a little gem out there, and he fits into the way Charlton play. And he's going to become a prominent player. The problem for us is, are we going to be able to keep him? That's going to be the problem for us because bigger and, for want of better words, better resource clubs than us will look at people like him from playing well for Charlton.
Yeah, I think, Paul, we've actually got to give all the credit there to Steve Gallen because I think Lee Bowyer's admission, he said he wasn't even aware of Conor Gallagher. I mean, it's Steve Gallen, as well as going to all these league fixtures, he goes to under-23s, under-18s. I mean, the work that guy has put in is phenomenal. But just touching on about the club turnaround, they've announced this week that we've sold out our allocation to West Brom in 3 weeks' time. I mean, that just shows how Lee has turned this club around and has galvanised the fans. I mean, that's a magnificent thing to behold, isn't it, Paul?
Yes, it is. It's wonderful. I mean, I remember the time not so long ago where people were turning in their season tickets. They didn't want to come and watch the club anymore, and I fully understood why. But Lee Bowyer has really been able to bring everyone together because, again, you've got a player, a manager that knows the club, that understands the club, that understands what's required, understands how special and unique the club is, understands the importance of the fans to the club. In fact, more than the chairman does, which is kind of strange. But, long may it continue. He's doing a wonderful job. And, again, I say, I'm happy that it's going under the radar. I'm genuinely happy. Let's go under the radar till the penultimate week of the season. Then we can have the fanfare. I'll take it then. But if we go under the radar and continue, but my worry is come January, Lyle Taylor, managers keep getting sacked. They'll be looking at Lee Bowyer because he's worked with a shoestring budget, and people will be looking at him. So it's going to be about whether our owners want to continue to stay in this division, because if they do, Lee Bowyer, Lyle Taylor and people like that have to stay.
Absolutely, and the people that Lee Bowyer has brought into the club as well has obviously impressed us. And in his mould as well, in the sort of attacking midfielder, he's got three really good players in Gallagher, Williams and Otzuma. So what are your thoughts on those three number 10s, that those goal-scoring midfielders who can make a difference?
Well, they're hugely important because they're game changers. They're game changers, and you need game changers. What keeps you in a division, what gets you promoted is not necessarily a good defence, although that helps, are game changers. Because you look at spells when things aren't going well and you rely on one little bit of magic to create a penalty, to create a goal-scoring opportunity for someone to score themselves. That's why they're huge. They're worth their weight in gold. Game changers, and I think they're hugely important. And in those three, we've got game changers.
Paul, just a little bit about you. We can hear your passion for the club, the way you talk about us. What did it mean to you to get voted into the Hall of Fame last year?
It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
it was brilliant, and it was totally unexpected. I didn't know anything about it till late. And you know what? To be truthfully honest, when I heard about it, I kept it under the radar. I didn't really tell many people, but then people I know got wind of it, and then it was all over the place. Because I don't like people knowing my business, but it was wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. There are so many other players, some would say more deserving than me.
I disagree.
To be voted in is an incredible honour. It really is. And
Fantastic.
Like I say, it's a wonderful club, and to be honoured in that way is absolutely magnificent.
Well, I know we're incredibly proud of you, Paul. You should be incredibly proud of yourself. I just wanted to quickly ask you to finish off. We know we don't want to get carried away and say, what are the expectations and aims for the rest of the season, because we do want to fly under the radar. But looking the way it started, what can you see Charlton can expect to do in the Championship this year?
Well, this is the difference between heart and head. My head is saying, let's go for the playoffs. My heart is saying 35 more points, and we stay up. That's good enough for me. I'll take that.
Yeah,
Paul, good enough for us. Really pleasure to
Cheers,
have
mate.
you on. Paul Mortimer
You're
there.
welcome.
No,
Have a
Paul,
nice
we
evening,
appreciate it.
Jed.
Take care.
Thank you.
Absolute Charlton legend. What a delight to speak to him. Just such an insight there. We're going to be talking all about what he said, but we're going to be talking about that WBA game because it is sold out and the away support, and it is galvanising, just as Paul said it. We're going to be discussing that next.
Love Sport Radio, the station giving fans a voice. The Novotel London Blackfriars, the official hotel partner of Love Sport. Located just minutes away from the city and London's famous South Bank. You can kick back and taste the flavours of the world at the Jamboree Bar and Grill and enjoy all the sights of London in style. The Novotel London Blackfriars.
Hi, I'm Marilyn from Oxfordshire. My current insurance company quoted £245.08 to reinsure. And a spokesman said, obtain me a price of £173.49 for the same cover. This was a fantastic saving for me. And next time my car insurance comes up for renewal, I will be going through a spokesman said. No doubt about that.
With a spokesmansaid.com. Fighting for you, saving you money.
You probably think you're pretty good at multitasking behind the wheel. I mean, you have to multitask to drive. So what's wrong with checking your phone? The thing is, your brain simply doesn't work. Even a quick look at the message, or firing off a quick reply, affects your concentration and makes you less able to react to hazards. If you use a mobile phone while driving, you're 4 times more likely to crash. Think. Put your phone away.
Before you set off on a long journey, remember to check your vehicle. Are your tyres correctly inflated? And are the treads deep enough? Have you got enough fuel? Is your oil level right? Checking your vehicle doesn't take long, but can prevent a breakdown or accident. And save you money. So, before you set off on a long journey, check your tyres, fuel, and oil. Highways England, connecting the country.
You all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah? Really? It's just, there's a massive grizzly bear sitting on you. You sure you're okay?
Well, now that you mention it.
Sometimes we say we're fine when we're not. But with 1 in 4 experiencing a mental health problem, if your mate says he's fine, he might not be. Be in your mate's corner and ask twice. Time to change.
This is Love Sport.
You are listening to the Charlton Fan Show. I'm glad we're back. They was giving me some stick, and I'm not having it on this Charlton Fan Show. I've tried my hardest to become one of them, one of the SE7 team, and all I get in the break is, do you remember when we beat Arsenal? Do you remember when it was 4-2? Yeah, we even gave that day a title. I can't believe it. All I've done for Charlton this year is root for Charlton. I've got a soft spot. Well, that is it. I'm not having it. Well, this is the Charlton Fan
The
Show.
honeymoon period is over.
It's over. What was a blossoming bromance has died. It's ended. Well, you can tweet us at LoveSport or call us on 0208 70 20 558. Give us your views, give us your questions. But this is the Charlton Fan Show. We were just talking to Paul Mortimer there, and what a joy that was. Such an amazing talker, an amazing player. I mean, the list of adjectives for Paul could go on and on. Just a great bloke to have on. We looked a little bit at that Fulham game on the weekend. Charlton should have had those 3 points, regardless if Fulham say, the keeper. Well, Charlton took the lead twice, 2 great goals, and they could have easily have had those 3 points. We say, though, and we have said on this show tonight, Charlton are flying under the radar. We don't care. It's a good thing. Maybe, though, that is starting to change because the next games, certainly in November, all on TV. So a Sky onto something here.
Yes, and also in November, I mean, if you're a proper traditionalist, the only fixture that's available to watch at 3 p.m. kickoff is the Millwall away game.
Yeah.
Because we've got Luton away, 7:45, and it's unbelievable. 3 home games covered by Sky. I mean, one's very early, 12 o'clock. That's the Preston game, isn't it, on the Sunday?
I don't know. I didn't look.
And yeah, that's just the warm-up for the Super Sunday, apparently. So we're just an hors d'oeuvre, by the way.
A starter.
That's all we are. I suppose you're happy with that now, Charlie.
Now we broke our TV hoodoo this season by...
Well, that's a good thing, because we've actually...
So we won't fear going live on TV again.
We've put that to bed, haven't we?
Yeah,
we did put it to bed last season when we had the Portsmouth game, and then obviously the playoffs as well. So... we're unbeaten on TV for a while, aren't we? Well,
I think the TV companies, what they will realise is because what Paul said to Paul Mortimer about galvanising the fans, and the fans are now getting behind the team, is the atmosphere at the ground, especially at home. Oh, I'm just saying that, especially away from home as well, has been fantastic. I mean, you wait to West Brom, that's going to be mental.
Well, let's talk about West Brom as well, because that is sold out, so it is clearly growing this season, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my first time to Hawthorn, so I'm really excited.
Yeah.
It's a good ground, is it?
It's all right.
Yeah, I do like it.
Just to deflate it and kill all of your positive vibes.
No worries, yeah, cool. All right.
No, you'll enjoy it. It's it's a proper football ground. Have you been there, Charlie?
I have been there, yeah.
Yeah. Be my third visit. I suppose the real tests will Middlesbrough away in December and Preston in January.
You definitely don't want to go Middlesbrough away. It's up there with my worst.
I've done those 2 away days, so I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, give them a miss.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I know you'll be there. You've got that whole 3 volumes to get through, yeah?
Funny little story. I was going through the fixtures with my wife the other night and just letting her know when I'm not around. And I said, oh, yeah.
Every game in a 46-game season.
Yeah, but I said to her, 26th of November, Luton away. She said, that's our silver wedding anniversary. I said, corporate hospitality at Kenilworth Road? Didn't go down well. So I will be missing at least one this season, Charlie. You heard it here exclusively on Love Sport Radio. I'm missing a game.
I will do Preston. I have been to Preston, but not watching Charlton, because I went to Burnley away a few years ago, and the game got called off just as we got to the ground, so we decided to go to Preston Colchester instead.
Ah, okay.
So I got to go to Preston to see Charlton. Yeah.
Well, the producers just said to me, he went, if Paul's going to miss a game, Luton's the one to miss. No one wants to go there. So,
from a Stevenage fan, I understand that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just quickly, non-Charlton, how long is a silver wedding? Because obviously,
25 years.
That's
right, I should know that.
It's my silver next year.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, back to Charlton. But congratulations, Paul.
Well, thank you very much. Yes.
Mark, congratulations for the 24 years and 25 next year. There you go. But people are onto it, aren't they? Because they are the crowds are growing. The fans are galvanised. It is this year, people. It's all on the up and up. The home support, I know it's getting bigger every week, but it's just something to behold. And once the fans get behind it even more, the team's only going to kick on from that as well, aren't they, Mark?
Yeah, they absolutely will. I mean, the players are constantly going on at how good the away fans have been this season.
You mentioned it at Wigan as well.
Yeah, Wigan. Yeah. We got behind them there. Fulham obviously was a sellout. West Brom's gonna be a sellout, and if I'm not mistaken, we remember Dodger Wayne that we had on, the guy that went to the fans forum. He's arranged a big flag that's all been bought, so I think that'll make its debut at West Brom away as well.
And apparently for the night game against Bristol, we've already sold 750, which I think is a fair old turnout for a night game.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, but there's always a bit of a worry because we're going on telly for the next few games, as you said, and I think last year when we were on telly for the Portsmouth game, that's when people started really noticing Joe Aribo, and I think that's the moment he was destined to leave. And we have a few players that may have that same effect. They're going to look, and it's a good young player. He's doing well. He can move to a league above, and he's going to put him on their radar. And we said radar a few times this night.
Yeah, it's true. Flying under the radar, putting players on the radar. But it's interesting because Mark, you said playing under the lights. We don't do well. We got rid of that hoodoo. The fans believe in that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we never win when we're on TV.
No, absolutely. Because going up to that, as Ollie said, going up to that Portsmouth game on the telly last season, we was on a great run. Portsmouth were up there with us in the playoffs, and everyone was like, "Oh no, it's on telly. Oh no, it's just going to be us. They're going to do us." Anyway, we turned up. The crowd were up for it, and we battered them in the end. So and now the fans are, we're on TV again. That's great.
And of course, talking of hoodoos, when we play Millwall on
we got to
November
get
the
rid
9th,
of that one.
Well, the thing is, we got such a terrible record.
Who will be in
Millwall.
charge this time?
Yeah, indeed.
The last time we beat Millwall, Lee Bowyer scored,
and that's the key. So Lee Bowyer, I think he got sent off in.
No, not Lee Bowyer.
That's classic.
Yeah, I think it was a snowy night, we lost at the new. Well, it just become the New Den. It was. Not too long into their new ground. Lee Bowyer got sent off and we still won with 10 men.
Fighting with Keith Stevens, isn't it?
So I just think the Lee Bowyer effect might hopefully break the hoodoo that Millwall got over us.
Well, a couple of other hash duties we need to mention. I just want to talk about the Charlton women's game versus Aston Villa this weekend at the Valley. That's an exciting one, isn't it, Mark?
It should be. I mean, Aston Villa are near the top. The ladies need to get some results together because they haven't won yet. So hopefully a few people will turn up. Because there's no Charlton game, so hopefully get down there. I think it's I think it's a £5 to get in. I think, I'm not sure.
£7.
Oh, £7, is it? Okay, that's half decent.
£5 if you know the right people.
Well, yeah, exactly. Get yourself down there and give the girls some backing.
Yeah, brilliant, especially when it is the international break. Chance to play at the Valley, definitely worth going down there. £5. Please try it if you can. I want to talk a little bit about the mystery of the Lewis Page injury now as well.
Yeah.
What is going on? We spoke about Lyle Taylor. I love it. It's like we're playing Cluedo tonight. What is going on with Lewis Page?
No idea. I mean, Bowyer came up with it last week. He just said he's baffled by it. You know, no one knows. I mean, I don't think even Lewis knows.
It's a bit like if looking at the Premier League as Daniel Sturridge, that every single time he steps on the pitch, he seems to come away injured. And when he's injured, he's gone for weeks. And it gets to a point where it can't be all physical. Some of it has to be mental. It's got to be in his head to a certain extent because he's always injured all the time. And it's different injuries all the time as well.
Yeah, and I think Lee's getting really frustrated because when he came out with some press comments in August, he just said, I don't want to know, just let me know when he's fit enough to be back on the training field, because he was just hearing of this going wrong and that going wrong. And unfortunately, Lewis Page has got a string of this now.
Well, I mean, Bowyer and Gallant put the faith in Page, didn't they? Because they give him another contract, and you know, it's not his fault he's injured. It just happens, but you know, it's just weird that he.
But unfortunately, what he said you have got to play a certain amount of games this season for that extra year extension to kick in. So there was a bit of a veiled threat there, I'm afraid. Yeah. And I don't know. I feel sorry for the lad because obviously he's certain players are very fragile. I'm thinking the Andy Carrolls of this world, Darren Anderton,
Jack Wilshere.
Yeah, you must have experienced. I think all clubs have them.
We've only got to go back to last season when we played Plymouth, you know, and he scored an absolute howitzer, didn't he? It was a cracking goal, and he played well. And when he does play, he's a fine player.
Very good.
That's what makes it harder, though, don't it? Because you know what you're getting when they are fit.
Yeah. I mean, we signed him January 2017. I mean, he's only made 27 appearances for Charlton, and I think. I reckon he would have been, you know, Lee's first choice left back because he's got such strength going forward, and he's got a wicked left foot putting the cross in, and he scored a fantastic goal, Charlie, in Lee Bowie's first game at home to Plymouth. It was a worldie. It was fantastic. But I do worry for the boy, really do.
And also, you spoke about him getting that new contract. Let's talk about Lyle Taylor's contract now, because we spoke about the injury. When can we see him again? But the contract obviously is a bigger story that lingers on. What is the latest on that? Will he sign? Won't he sign? Is he going? Who knows?
I was speaking to another Charlton fan today who I just by chance met, and he's pretty much convinced he's off in January.
In January as well.
In
Not
January,
even at the end of the season.
Wow. I think he's not going to sign a new contract, and Bowie's probably is thinking if he's not signing a new contract, we'll try and get some money for him. If he goes, then he's looking at Ivan Toney. I think he's at Peterborough.
Well, we tried to get him in the summer.
I think he's looking at other options. I mean, he's a huge influence for the club. He's a great ambassador for the club, and you know, he's a great person to have around other players. You know, he's made other players better. Look at last season; he made Carlton Grant a better striker. Then he went off to the Premier League, and you really hope someone like that, the character, to stay. But if he leaves for more money, or if he leaves for what he believes is a step up or a chance to play in a higher level, you can't begrudge him. But it'd just be a real shame to miss him.
Well, the only step up for him would be a Premier League team, in my opinion. But I mean, he had there was an interview with him the other day. He kept his cards close to his chest. Said his people are talking to the club. Who knows? He could go, or once he's proved his fitness and got back from his injury, all of a sudden he could be signing a new contract. We just don't know, do we?
If he moves across to a side in the Championship, will that be a real bitter pill to swallow, Paul?
It will be, and I think if it had happened back in the summer, I don't think the Charlton fans would have been ready for that. But now they've had time to digest this information, and when you think of it logically, the sort of money that the likes of Brentford were perhaps offering, we can't compete with that, can we? And also, even if we did, I mean, is it going to sort of upset the chemistry of the whole side? Because if you've got one player who's sort of out there on a big wage, how do the others feel? Right? There's that. I always consider that.
You do, but then you saw a thing. I was listening to a podcast today with Jimmy Bullard, and he was talking about Paolo Di Canio when he was at West Ham, and like some of the shenanigans you got up with, but then what they said was he went and done it out on the pitch, so yeah, just let him get on with it.
You hear so many footballers say that, don't they? Yeah.
You know, if Lyle Taylor's banging him in and we end up giving him 20 grand a week, and then he scores 30 goals this season,
and that helps the players to get their win bonus because they've won and the team have won. It's so true. But I still stand by my guns. I believe he will sign a new contract at Charlton. I really do. I think that could be the move in January. What a boost that would be. He signed another contract for the club.
Oh, it'll be fantastic. I mean, Steve Gallen is doing all he can.
I'll tell you mentioned last season, and he's banging them in this season for Bristol Rovers. Johnson Clark Harris.
Yes,
he's definitely one that would be on the radar. He's doing well this season.
On the radar, well, you heard it here first.
So, word of the week.
On the radar. No, I'm only kidding. He's flying under the radar. But this is the Charlton Fan Show with the SE7 podcast and me, Charlie Hawkins. You can catch it every Thursday, 9 to 10. Next week, we may have that very special guest, which is Lyle Taylor. You can catch us every Thursday, 9 to 10. This is the Charlton Fan Show. Radar.
This is Love Sport.
Get ready for Brexit on the 31st of October. Brexit will bring changes that affect businesses